49ers side, it wasn't all terrible, just not a lot of great. Isaac Guerrero, if you were bold enough to start him, he got you over 11 fantasy points because of the receptions, Matthew. That was the key that kept him at least okay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, in a game in which they scored 6 points, like there's not so much. I think you can be. If I had told you before the game, Isaac Guerrero's getting 20 touches in this game, you'd have signed up for that ASAP. He got 20 touches. Like the concern on Guerrero was, is he healthy? Is he going to get used? Is he going to sprain his foot on the second play and leave again, which we've seen from McCaffrey and Jordan Mason multiple times this year where they get hurt early in a game. And so Guerrero held up. And I think
ran hard for what was there.
Yeah, I mean, just there wasn't anything there, but there's been 2 games since Chris McCaffrey went on IR. He's got 37 touches. He's got a double-digit target share in this offense, and so I do think that if you manage to survive this week, you feel good about Guerrero, who will have 10 days as well. He didn't look unhealthy to me.
No.
He just wasn't able to get anything going
injury.
because the offense was brutal.
Yep. George Kittle was fine, did his job, 4 for 61, looked like George Kittle. Disappointing game for Juwan Jennings. I mean, the story really is that Purdy was
awful.
Just horrific. And the irony is this 49ers season, which is almost comical in how much it's been the season from hell with the amount of injuries. And all season, the offense has been fine. It's been good enough all season. They've been undone by the injuries on defense and by special teams. This game, special teams was fine. Jake Moody hits a 50-yarder. Yeah. They did their job. Defense was great. Dre Greenlaw is out there flying around. Bosa's back. Hufanga's making plays. Right. Defense was awesome. And then the offense just completely breaks down. As soon as they go right, then Purdy has his worst game since Christmas last year.
Yeah, he does. He was 1 for 10 on deep passes.
Is that bad?
Yeah, it's not good. It was his season low in completion percentage, not surprising. And he now has had under 4 fantasy points in 2 of his last 3 games. We sort of wrote off the first one because it was that was a blizzard at Buffalo. And now again, I'll be honest, I will own this. I started Brock Purdy in a playoff league over Tua Tagovailoa. I had him higher in my rankings. I thought this was a better game environment. I thought this was, based on what we saw last week from both these offenses, I thought this would be a shootout. And obviously, I am massively regretting that decision. But the numbers said what the numbers said in terms of the projections, in terms of my numbers. And by the way, a lot of smart people that I respect also had Purdy ranked higher than Tua. Just bad day at the office for Brock Purdy. But maybe he's just not good in weather. I'm going to own the fact that I did not think there was going to be a monsoon there. I didn't see anything about the weather. I didn't pay attention to it. I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, the weather, like we said, it's a factor. It doesn't explain how bad he was, but I agree. When you look at his worst games outside of the Christmas game last year, I mean, he was dreadful against Cleveland last year, where it's he couldn't grip the ball. He was really bad in the first half against the Packers in that playoff game, where again it was wet. So I don't know if it's just something where it's almost like the rain stayed with him after it left because it was in his head how poorly he was playing. But really disappointing game. Do you think he's definitely the quarterback next year in San Francisco?
I do, just because I think Shanahan loves him.
Yeah.
And
there's just no alternative.
There's no alternative. They really like him there. I don't think they'll look at these small sample
and overall,
games.
it's been a good season for him.
Overall, it's been really good. And by the way, they have him on the most ridiculous rookie deal of all time. I mean, this is a guy that was a day 3. Yeah, he will be, but
it's coming this summer. Spring.
You think so?
Yeah, they're gonna get that done this spring. I think so.
So I'm just wondering, whether you want to.
But my point is you could, because they have the deals with they did the deal with Ayuk. They did the deal with Trent.
Trent Williams last night. I thought the Rams' pass rush wasn't great in the first half, but you saw it get going a lot in the second half.
Yeah. By the way,
I wonder if they regret letting Darnold go. They had Sam Darnold, and
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure they're that different at this point. I mean, it's so tough to know because of context, Darnold now in a really good situation too. And I still believe in Purdy. I still think Purdy has more upside than Darnold because he is younger and his ability to move around. And also, he was minus 250 to win MVP this time last season. So he has shown massive upside. But on the pass rush thing, just another reminder, on those Hail Mary attempts, send 4. It seems to work every single time.
Right.
It's just so difficult.
He had no chance.
Yeah.
Couldn't even get the ball
out. Gone, so. Well played by the Rams at the end there.
Last thing for me on this one, and I will talk about this next week, as we get into next week in terms of whether you can trust Purdy again, whether you can trust Guerrero, all these guys, whether you can trust Cooper Kupp. I'll tell you one game that you definitely can't trust, and that's Deebo Samuel. We thought that, I guess I didn't think the bet cashed. I thought I lost it. I thought it was, so I'm glad that did cash, because the 2 bets that we brought up yesterday, I was just to get a reception on the first drive, and to get 10. And my bet that I gave out yesterday was 10 yards receiving for Deebo Samuel in the first quarter, which ended up cashing. So
this point you didn't know, because that celebration would have been like it was the last play of the first quarter, and he got it by a yard.
Yeah, I did.
I was like, oh, Matthew's probably just screaming wherever he is watching this game right now.
Because I
thought you lost.
Like I told you, I watched it late. Like I just, you know, what I mean? So I wasn't I wasn't paying attention.
It was a very anticlimactic play. Like it was a screen, and he took 3 steps forward and just told what we used to tell Rashad White to like he fell forward, and that was it. He got it by a yard.
Yeah, so
all cash is the same.
It all counts the same, so it's great. Yeah, I for some reason I thought that it had cashed in the second quarter. I thought that play was like the first play of the second quarter. For some reason, it just had my head. So I'm thrilled to get a win that I didn't know that I had coming in this morning. Never in doubt. Never in doubt. Trust your old pal Matty. But
Matty Pino.
Exactly, Pino Matty. But Deebo Samuel, despite and they tried. By the way, the very first play was a target to Deebo, and he didn't do it. We love Deebo Samuel here. He's a friend of the show. He's been on multiple times, but he looks done.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the drama going into this game was the tweet that was deleted where he said, not struggling at all, just not getting the ball.
And by the way,
they tried to.
By the way, then he got community noted. After this, he got community noted. After this tweet, he got community noted where they're like, he leads the team in drops. He is struggling. And going into this game, he led the team in drops, and so he was struggling. So he got community noted. And, he had multiple drops in this game, too. Like, he had the bad one, too, on the crosser that Purdy hits him. And, if he catches that, that's potentially a touchdown, and that's
they probably win the game if he catches that and he holds on.
And the stadium was loudly booing after that, it was a little jarring.
It honestly reminded me of watching Zach Wilson a couple of years ago, where it's just he's has the yips as a receiver.
Yeah.
It seemed to be really in his head. Just a catastrophic night for Deebo all around. And also the other thing too is it's not just the drop. It's that he's just not getting separation. They're showing the routes that he's running. He's just not separating like he used to.
5th straight game with under 77 fantasy points. Under 7 fantasy points for 5 straight games. Deebo Samuel, since week 11, is wide receiver 88 in fantasy points per game. Wide receiver 88. I mean, I don't think you could name 87 wide receivers.
Right, that's a good game.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do it now.
All right, let's
Sorry,
do it
Denny.
now. Sorry, Pete. We're going to blow up the,
Jalen Coker.
Yeah, anyway. So, you're not starting Deebo anytime soon. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.